Hello, this is Paul Madsen with the Grow Your Biz Show. Welcome to the program. This is episode number 118, and we're just glad to have you along for the ride in this exciting time and this exciting economy that we are all in right now. It's pretty different, unique economy out there, and a lot of people are experiencing lots of change, and that's why I'm so excited about today's guest. His name is Aaron Davis, and you've probably heard of him if you're from Nebraska, or actually he goes all over the place. But Aaron will tell us all about what he does. And before he comes on, I want to let you know that growmedia.com will help you with your unique message via strategic short videos for social media and build your engagement on social media with social media videos by growmedia.com. And now, welcome to the show, Mr. Aaron Davis. Come on, Aaron.
All right.
There he is. Yay! I need an applause track here so I can welcome to the show. Aaron's talking to us today live via Zoom in Lincoln, Nebraska. Aaron, so glad you're along.
It's good to be here. I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you for the invite.
Hey, great. Well, I look forward to you sharing your wisdom with my audience, and I'm just going to jump right on in. Aaron, tell us, what business are you in?
I'm a professional speaker. I help individuals and organizations improve their bottom line by improving their attitudes.
Wow. It's all about attitude, you're saying?
It is. You know, attitude is not the only thing, but it's the main thing. You can have all the talent and intelligence, but if the attitude is not there, it really thwarts the rest of them out pretty quick.
Well, you know, we've heard about that. We've heard about motivational speakers and attitude speakers and things like that. I'm old enough to have been a fan and actually have seen the great Zig Ziglar in person probably 3 times, I think, maybe 4. He's been to Omaha, and actually I even interviewed him in person for a radio show once. That was a real trip. So I got one of the great Zig. Anyway, I guess I'm off track. Tell me, Aaron. I mean, you've said it already. People have a great skill set. They may have a great experience, even great positions of high levels, or in either small companies or in a big company. I mean, what happens if the attitude slips a little bit, especially during trying times like these?
Well, you'll see performance slip. You'll see profits slip. You'll see camaraderie slip. Culture will not be as engaged as it should be. So the attitude is really the harbinger that holds it all together. So it's one of the crucial elements in a successful company and culture.
Well, and I think you're right, because and I've worked for several companies, everything from a global software company on down to my own one-horse company right now, and maybe half a horse, I'm not sure. At any rate, would that be a donkey? I don't know. At any rate, the point, Aaron, is that you know, I've seen how that attitude can permeate an organization. I mean, how do you get in there and help them with their culture?
You know, the first thing I do before I go in and speak for an organization, I find out what their pain points are. You know, what areas can be improved. It's like when you go to your doctor, the doctor, he or she cannot help you if they don't know what's paining you, what's the problem is. So I try to go in and find out what their pain points are and do my best to offer a solution to those.
Right. Okay. Well, and I guess I suppose that comes back to asking the right questions and listening, right?
You know, Paul, you nailed it. You know, questions, the better questions you ask, the better results you'll get. And it's all about questions. So you have to really have to spend some time just listening, not talking so much, and just listen. And many times they'll let you know what the solution is. Many times they have the solution and it just needs to be vetted out by listening.
Well, and I think you're right. You know, I mean, I was just going to ask the question. I'm an intuitive executive or a leader or a business owner, and I have a good feel for people. And why can't I just ask the questions myself and get those answers, get them to tell me what's going on?
Well, sometimes when you're too close to a situation, it's easy to miss your own blind spots. It's easy to dissect what the problem is, because sometimes you're part of the problem.
No, never.
And sometimes you don't realize that. So it's
blind spot. I like that. Yeah, you're right.
We all have our blind spots. So it's great to have another set of eyes that's outside the organization at times to take a look in as well.
So you're kind of kind of a rear view and a side view mirror together for some of these leaders and some of these executives and some of these companies as well, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
cool. Well, Aaron, now we'll get more into what you do and how you do it, but I wanted to ask you another differentiating question. I mean, why do this? I mean, this I know you've done it a long time, and it can't be easy to business to do. I mean, there's a lot of competition, but why are you in this business?
I love what I do. It's a lot of people say find your passion, but I think it's more than that. I can be as passionate as I want, wanting to shoot a 68 in golf. That's not going to happen.
Well, I can get 68 on about 7 holes.
Oh yeah, I'm eventually at the 68. Is what happens. Like 8, 9 holes later is the problem.
You're supposed to play 18? I forgot that part.
So it takes passion, but it also takes some skill. And I've worked. I thank God that I've worked on my craft for a long time, for almost 2 decades now. So I'm very passionate. But you also have to have some tools and some know-how, regardless if it's a keynote speaker, regardless if it's a great interviewer like yourself. You've had to work on your craft,
right?
But you also had to work on it. So I enjoy doing it, the passion for it, the skills for it that I've been fortunate and blessed to have. But also, I love working with people and helping people. Paul, we're here on this earth for a short amount of time,
right?
And I want to help as many people as I possibly can. And this just happens to be my pulpit for doing that. We all have different pulpits that we have, so I'm grateful that this is mine to help people out personally.
You've read the Simon Sinek book that starts with Why. What do you think about that book?
So I think the book was groundbreaking. It was things that have been said for for centuries. It was just said in a different way. And that's why there's very few things that are new. They're just said in new ways and different experiences.
I am at the stoplight one day and in my car, and up next to me is Bob's Porta Potties, and he's got a truck with, I don't know, 15 or 20 portable toilets, portable potties on it. They're going to some event or whatever. I'm just thinking, well, why does Bob do this business? Because he is really passionate about placing potties, cleaning them out, picking them up. It's not really a glamorous type of work. But you know what I'm going to say, don't you? And that is, maybe Bob's passion is have a successful business, to employ people. Who knows what Bob does with the profits? And I don't. Anyway, and so Bob, it may not be a glamorous profession, but Bob's why is just as good as our why, isn't it?
It is. One of my favorite passages of scripture, it says, "Whatever your hands find to do, do it your best with it." And so what we find our hands to do as far as our craft and our profession, do your best with it. So whether it's the guy with the porta potties, whether it's the gal with the floral shop, or the barber, regardless of what your craft may be, do it with all your might and do it with your best talents and gifts you've been blessed with. And then the passion and the gratification will come through that, because you enjoy what you do. You enjoy what you do.
Right. It becomes fulfilling just in doing it well, I think. And if you can turn a profit and you can hire employees and provide a needed service too. I mean, I've been on group bike rides or sports events where, guess what? The porta potty was pretty important.
You appreciated Bob's porta potties.
Yeah. And on a similar business truck, I think I've seen we're number 1 in the number 2 business. And that's a real one. I can't remember whose truck it is, but I've seen that in Omaha, Nebraska.
It's a great slogan.
Isn't that a great one? Yeah, that kind of puts it all right there in one bucket, right? So anyway, hey, Aaron, tell us this. I guess we know your why, and tell us what differentiates you from. I mean, there's just put professional speaker in Google and you get a raft, right? 4 million results in 2 seconds or something like that. So it's probably about like talk show hosts too. There's a lot of us. So what differentiates Brent Davis from the herd?
What makes me different is because I'm different. It's my story. It's my experiences. Paul, I truly believe that every single person could get on a stage and share if they had a desire to do that, because all of our experiences are different. Now, with that, of course, you have to hone your skills on delivering that message and bring about points that would resonate with your audience. So obviously you have to do your homework and find out who you're speaking with. But the key differentiator for me is using personal stories to relate to the masses, whether it was a background being part of a national championship football team, the experiences that I had with that, they're different than him or her over there. And you bring those stories that can resonate with your audience, both their heart, mind, and soul. Then you have a presentation that'll make an impact.
Right, because it's personal and it's your story. As you were talking, I thought of the poster I've seen out there before. It says, "Be yourself, everyone else is taken."
That's right.
Isn't that a good one? So, I mean, well, what is your story? Tell us from 20 years ago how you got started in this, why you got started in this, and take us from the beginning, Aaron.
Well, I originally got started speaking for high school and middle school students. Coach Osborne and Coach Brown, my former coaches at Nebraska, opened up some doors for me. It was something I didn't know I wanted to do at first, but there was an audience that wanted to hear about playing on a national championship football team. And I'm thinking, well, you want somebody better than me? I was like a 50th string wide receiver. Why not get one of the superstars? But
you weren't quite differentiated enough there.
Yeah. It's part about being a part of a team that they want to hear about. So I did that, and I enjoyed it.
What kinds of audiences? I mean, what doors did you open at first there? I mean, our show, of course, Aaron, is for small business owners and small business launchers, and maybe there's someone out there who would love to hear some of your beginning story there. It sounds like you had some good doors open for you, and they knew you because you played on their team. But what happened next?
Well, you got to prepare yourself. And so, first of all, when the doors are open, you still have to go perform, regardless of what business you're in. Whether it's a referral or a B2B, and they mention your name and they call you, you still have to be prepared to go through that door to take care of that phone call or that first meeting. Because if you're not prepared, you not only make yourself look foolish, but you make the person who referred you look bad as well.
Right.
So when the opportunity is there, you can't be getting ready. You got to be ready.
Well, yeah.
So when those doors opened up for me, I was making sure I was pouring myself into my craft, reading the books, looking at the greats, like you mentioned, the Zig Ziglars, the Les Browns. I can go on and on.
Oh, yeah.
I would watch and how they conveyed their stories. So when you're starting a business, regardless of what type of business it is, you must dive into that business. Read the periodicals about that business, the trade journals about that business. Talk to people who are already in it. Ask them the questions, the pros, the cons. Ask them what maybe skills you may be deficient in so you can improve in those skills. So just because the doors are open, you still have to go and perform once you get there. Well,
I'm sure that's absolutely right. And as you're speaking, it reminded me of the phrase. I mean, you talk about you have to be prepared, you have to be ready, you have to. I mean, the whole that phrase, you probably said it from stage yourself. Luck is the intersection of opportunity and preparedness.
That's right.
You had the opportunity by the doors getting opened a few little bit doors, but you were prepared. I mean, I love Les Brown. He's great.
Right.
All those names you mentioned, Brian Tracy, the rest of them. Anyway, the point is that you were prepared and you made it happen. What was your nostalgic here? What was your very first paid speaking engagement for who other than your mom?
I was just sharing this. I was doing an interview with the 1011 News just yesterday. And I was sharing with them my first presentation that I traveled was clear out in western Nebraska. And by the time I made it clear out there and made it back home, I think I netted about $100.
That much? That's a lot. That's a lot of gas. And who was the group? I'm sorry.
It was a youth, a high school group, clear out in it was just out by Scotts Bluff area.
Yeah, that's a hike. That's a hike.
Where it was at. So it was Scotts Bluff and then drove up to Alliance, which is, that's a long haul from here to Lincoln.
Yeah, it's a drive. And so they actually paid you as a school group? Wow, yes. That's terrific. And you made $100. That's impressive because that's a lot of gasoline out there. It's not like the prices today. Of course, the prices today are kind of like 20 years ago.
Yeah, they are.
It's pretty crazy stuff. I'm sure you remember that speech very well, and you probably talked about attitude, am I guessing?
Absolutely. For me, it's always been about, and the kind of the tagline I always say, it's your attitude, it's your choice. Paul, even this pandemic that we're dealing with, there are certain things we can't control what goes on out there.
Right.
We can control what goes on in here. And that's a choice. We always have a choice of how we respond, whether it's to a pandemic, whether it's a bad meeting with a client, a missed sale, etc., we can always control how we respond from adversity. That's always power.
Well, and that's it. You can't control what's out there, but hopefully you can control yourself. Back to your early days. What would you say? I mean, you prepared, you studied, you researched, you talked to people, and you got a little bit of momentum but you had to be ready and you had to keep going. How did you go about selling yourself as a speaker to groups, to people, to individuals, to companies, and so on? I mean, what was, again, for the startup entrepreneur, often they know how to do what they need to do, right? And they just need to sell it.
Well, the best way to sell yourself is to be the best at what you do every time you get a chance to do it. Regardless if it's in a Zoom like this, regardless if it's a phone call, whether you're going into that place of business to show your wares, your products, your services, go in there prepared and do your best. And you treat every single presentation as if it's your last, because it very well could be.
Yeah.
It very well could be. So if you do a great job, people will talk. Referrals will come when people know that, hey, he or she did a great job for me, regardless of what service or business it was. Because when you have a great experience, especially you enter social media now, people will tweet about it, they'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And also, if they have a bad experience, they'll tweet about it and talk about it. So the way to negate those bad things is to come prepared and give your best with every phone call, every meeting, every time you have a presentation about your product. Make sure that you've done your homework and do a bang out job, because we're on the field every time we get in front of that client, that prospect, every single time. So if you do a great job, your product will sell itself. Of course, you do the other things, the prospecting, etc. But none of those fancy marketing brochures and websites and a billion followers on social media, those mean nothing if you get there and don't do a good job.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. I mean, what percentage of your gigs now are where someone said, "Oh, get Aaron Davis"?
Paul, over 90%. It's about 90%.
Wow.
My business is word of mouth and referrals.
Isn't that something?
Once I do a presentation, I ask them, "Would you mind, if you felt that I did a good job, would you mind referring us?" And I'm like, "Aaron, absolutely." And so they'll refer 3 to 5 names. I have a sheet, a process, and a system that I use. And then I said, "Would you mind following up with them and let them know that I'll be reaching out to them? My office will reach out to them." And they're like, "No problem." But again, none of that happens if I don't go there and take care of business.
Well, yeah.
For the product or a service, I sure as heck is not going to refer the person or the company that I got from. So you got to make sure you go in there and you deliver.
Yeah, well, and you keep emphasizing the execution, and that's awesome, because let's say you got lucky and got a gig. Well, if you stink up the place, that's all it takes. And what's the thing about an unhappy customer will tell everybody, but a satisfied one doesn't tell very many people, or something.
Right. You got to deliver. And Paul, that's one thing that Coach Osborne stressed to us as a team, to where you practice just the same way you play. You practice the same way you play, and you'll play the way that you practice. You'll be able to see who really put in the work and who didn't.
Sure.
So execution eats plans lunch every day. You got to go out there and execute.
Yeah, well, it's all about making it happen. And it just so often we learn as we go along the way. Everybody's pivoting these days. It's a very popular word with the virus and all this going on and crazy stuff. But yeah, it's got to make it happen, don't you?
Absolutely.
Well, tell us about Aaron, about some of your. I mean, every entrepreneur, and you're a solopreneur, I guess. You don't really have a staff, do you?
Just have people I subcontract out with. I have a business partner who books engagements, kind of my business strategist. But other than that, I subcontract out a lot of things. Absolutely.
Sure. Well, and that's the new age for a lot of people are doing that kind of business. They're the main product and service, and then they contract out the pieces of it that will need to be done, because there's a lot of things a lot of us are not good at that we can be better if we focus on the things we're good at, so we can keep doing it, right? Well, what I was going to ask is, a lot of entrepreneurs who watch and listen to this program, they hit the speed bumps and they may be discouraged. I mean, tell us about some of the speed bumps that you hit early on with your business, and maybe even right now. It's a speed bump. It's one big speed bump out there, isn't it? Tell us about the speed bumps and how you've handled them, Aaron.
Well, you look at this right here, the pandemic we're dealing with. This is unprecedented. No one going through this for the most part that can remember the Spanish flu that took place in 1920, unless you're over 100 years old. So there was no game plan, regardless of what business you're in, for something of this
Right.
magnitude. However, though, you have to decide, am I going to focus on the cans or the can'ts? So this speed bump for me was, okay, I started seeing all my calendar disappear as far as travel, because there's
Oh.
any travel. So I had to focus on what I can do, and I had to create some pivots. So when you're going through a tough time in your business, don't focus on what you can't do. Focusing on what you can't do is stifling. It's paralyzing. It's worrisome, and worrisome is paralysis. That'll paralyze you. But if you think about the cans, also think about concern. See, concern makes you proactive. So when this took place, I said, okay, I'm very concerned, obviously, about my business. So what can I do? Well, we have this technology that we're speaking on right now. If I focused on the cans, we wouldn't be having this conversation here.
Right.
So I'm focusing on the cans. So to you business owners out there that this pandemic is running roughshod, that's not just some motivational mumbo jumbo. That's a reality. We're facing some tough times right now.
Absolutely.
But I want you to focus on what you can do in your business. And it may be only one or two things. Well, if it's only one or two things, you do the best you can at those one or two things until maybe 3 or 4 or 5 things open up. If it's just one thing, you focus on that one thing
Right.
that you can do, and then the can'ts will start appearing when they will. So focus on the cans rather than the can'ts, and make the pivots that you can make.
Right, Roland. That's good advice, because I mean that's what we have to do. John Lee Dumas, he's a big time podcaster. You know John, GLD. Yeah. You probably know him. You probably met him or not?
I don't know him, but I love his work.
Yeah, he tells. He sent me a free Freedom Journal, and he'd probably send it to everybody else out there. And of course, it's backwards, but the Freedom Journal. He says, focus on course until success. FOCUS. I love that. Focus on one course until success. Anyway, that's beside the point. We're going to run out of time, but I wanted to ask you. I mean, it's easy for us to sit here in our chairs in front of a camera and say, "Oh, pivot. Do what you can with what you can." What did you say? I mean, let's say XYZ client out there had you on the books for a juicy little speaking engagement, and you're looking forward to it, and maybe you know the people, and then they say, sorry, no event. And how did you approach them with the pivot and say, well, let's do some Zoom stuff? Or tell us how that worked in your world.
What worked in my world in that did happen, and it's continuing to happen right now. As we
Darn it!
Yeah, it happens. So, but it's almost like getting the bad news of, I don't want to make it, like physically, but it's like getting bad news. Okay, you have one or two choices. What are you going to do about it now?
Yeah.
Well, the news has been delivered, and I go back to what I said again. Okay, what can I do? So when those calls started to come in, I was talking with clients and saying, hey, do you guys and gals have Zoom capability? Do you have Google Hangout capability? Do you have Skype capability? I started focusing on, again, the cans. They were like, well, we never thought about that.
Yeah.
It was something we haven't done a lot before. I said, well, I'm not an expert, but I've done it enough times where I can teach you how to use this and get anywhere from there's 5 people on there. Sometimes there's been 50 people on a Zoom call. And They said, we'd love to do that. So I educated them again on the cans rather than the can'ts. So when you get that bad news, or there's a deal that's kind of on the brink of not working, again, bring your client back. So you have to be the voice of reason many times, because they're thinking about their business through their tunnel vision at times, because they're thinking about their business. You have to be a trusted set of eyes on the outside and say, have you thought about it this way? Paul, if I bring this glass up and I just have it this close to my face, my business, it's hard for me to see around it. But if I get a set of eyes and I set it away, I can look around it and examine it better. So many times we just have to help our clients examine other possibilities that are out there to still make the deal, the presentation, or the service or product that you have.
Well, I think your vision and your services would be more valuable than ever right now, because I mean, so many of us perhaps can't see the forest for the trees. We're so busy panicking and so on. If we had more time, I'd ask you some specific nuts and bolts about what you do if, but the bottom line, I think you're advising people is to do what you can and stay on the positive and make that all happen, like you've talked about for the last 25 minutes here. As we wrap up, Aaron, put that all in a bow for us and wrap it up and send us home with some good motivation here.
You know what, Paul, I appreciate the time. And I would say one key factor, there's a lot, but a few key factors. One, folks, you got to establish a routine. And your routine may change daily because responsibilities may change daily. The reality is some of you are not only working at home for the first time, but you're working at home and you're also having to help your son or daughter, if they're in grade school or younger, on an online platform you've never been used to before.
Yeah.
So maybe you've never used it before on your own at work. They've never used it before. You're working at home. You're dealing with a pandemic. Maybe you've even lost a huge part of your business or your business itself. So it's imperative that you establish a routine to help keep your sanity. Routine is huge during this. I have what I call 5:35. I work out at 5:30 in the morning, and I work out again in the evening at 5.
Wow.
Now, that time is recording, so I'll do it after. But that's my routine is not your routine or vice versa.
No.
You must establish a routine for yourself.
Right.
The second part, which is crucial, Paul, is you got to guard your mind. Watch how much news you're taking in, the doom and gloom. I'm not saying not to stay informed. What I'm saying is not to be overwhelmed. Informed and overwhelmed have two very different reactions. So you must stay informed, but don't get overwhelmed with just having that thing on all day long, listen to all the doom and gloom. And it starts with how you start your day out. I don't watch the news the first thing I get up in the morning. I don't want to know who got murdered, mugged, shot, hurricane, typhoon. No. I want to start off with some music to get me up going. Earth, Wind, and Fire has never made me mad to start my day. It never happened. So you have to start your day in a positive mindset with the things you're going to feed your mind, body, and soul to start off with. So routine is crucial, and also guarding your mind and your mental soil by not allowing a lot of the weeds of negativity and the media and the doom and gloom to penetrate it so those weeds grow.
Aaron, that's a timeless message, and we are out of time. I can't thank you enough because I think everybody out there has to hear this right now. Remember, folks, to focus on what you can do, get your routine down, remember your why, and Aaron's contact information will be at the end of the show here, so keep him in mind if you need that dose of attitude. Visit him on YouTube. He's hilarious. I love it. And Aaron, I thank you so much for connecting with me on LinkedIn and making this happen. And thank you so much, and best wishes on Zoom and out there in the speaking circuit.
Paul, I sure appreciate it, man. And God bless you and your viewers and listeners. You guys be safe out there. We'll be back at this soon.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Take care.